Welcome to the Panic Button, everyone. I'm Nina. Today we're going to be talking about the new Star Trek and why it is bombing.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Today we're going to be talking about Star Trek Starfleet Academy. This is a new rendition or iteration of Star Trek that has come out just recently, and it's being released by Paramount Plus. Now, they put the first episode online on YouTube for free for people to watch, and boy, was the reception of this not good. We're going to head over to this Nerdrotic tweet where he writes, Paramount spent between 6 to 10 million an episode on Star Trek Starfleet Academy. They put the premiere on YouTube for free and got 1,300 live viewers. R.I.P. Star Trek. And then we started getting clips out of this new show, particularly out of the second episode, where people online were claiming they have a literal DEI training on the show in Star Trek. Let's watch.
Name of this cadet. Being a cadet in Starfleet Academy means being open to the people around you. And that connection is where time and space really live.
I don't need connection.
Yeah. You're a genius who owns all the suffering. I only know two things, kid. Number one, old age and treachery always triumph over youth and a smart mouth. Oscar Wilde. Love that dude. Fun fact, when he died, they had to put glass over his tombstone because people kept trying to make out with it. Number two, a smart mouth isn't worth a damn.
Alrighty, there you have it. I'm already getting notes of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you can tell that in just looking at this perfectly diverse cast, but also in listening to the words of the actress Tig Notaro, who is a famous woke lesbian comedian, as she's talking about inclusivity and getting to know every
Is it Tig Notaro or Tig Notaro?
To know every single person in Starfleet Academy as a way of including all and building connection. And Tig Notaro is not the only female leader on this show. This show is full, rife with girl bosses. Let's look at another clip.
The Badlands, Captain. Subspace instability may be creeping in, and we're the first to chart it.
These would make an excellent practical study module for the Spatial Harmonics Lab, Captain.
All right. Well, let's not total the ship on our first run.
And then we gotta look at some of the promotional shots and promotional material.
Can I just say that when you are casting a diverse-looking group of people to be in your woke show, most people aren't going to watch if the people are ugly or if they're obese. But most importantly, they will not watch if the actors suck. And it seems to me that when they use diverse casts, LGBTQ people, fat women, whatever, it always seems that the acting is bad. It's either that or the writing is terrible. Well, you would just assume that if they're picking actors that look diverse, that they would probably be picking writers who look diverse as well. And so I just don't see this working out long term. It hasn't become, this is the thing, it's talent. It's not about talent anymore. It's about how do you look. The people who say you shouldn't care about how people look, in Hollywood no less, are the same people who are picking people based on how they look and not about their talent. And that's not a good look.
Girls from this show, take a look at these two photos here. I saw somebody on X.
That one looks like One Tree Hill on the left here. And this one looks like they're walking into a vagina, a metallic vagina. Yeah, this looks like they're trying to be X-Men walking into a metal vagina. And this one looks like One Tree Hill, party of 5. Yeah, we're all friends here, please. People in Hollywood, friends? Not really. Highly doubtful. Most of these people talk shit behind each other's backs all the time.
Say this looks more like an advertisement for HIV testing that you see on a New York City subway. So there's that. And if you're looking at all of these materials and bits of media and thinking you know exactly how this show is going to pan out and what it's going to be about, you'd be absolutely correct. If you've seen She-Hulk, Star Wars, The Acolyte, you pretty much have got this show down. As I said before, you can head over and watch that on YouTube if you want. It only has 160,000 views in 4 days. And again, this is coming from Paramount. And the top comment right now, at least as far as I'm seeing, is to boldly leave the comment section open. So that should give you a vibe here. And if we look at the likes and dislikes on this show right now, we have 27,000.
Whoa, 22,000 dislikes and 7,000 likes. Why do you think that is? Is it because most people on YouTube are bigots? Or do you think they just wrote a shit trash show? I'll go with the latter.
Dislikes to 6.7K likes. Yikes. Now, of course, as I said before, this show is full of woke. It's full of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm going to show you a couple of clips here. And to do that, I have to explain a little bit of the plot. So at the beginning of episode 1, you see a young boy and his mother separated from each other. Now, because women are either leaders or victims in this show, it wasn't really this woman's fault that she was an accomplice to murder. She got tricked by an evil white man named Noose Braca, who got her convinced that this was a way to get food for her and her son.
Wait a second, but if we were to be looking at this from a logical perspective, then none of the Manson women should have ever been prosecuted and put in prison. But if you ask the writers, they'd say no, they deserve to go to prison. They weren't manipulated by men. They knew what they were doing. But their character right here, this libtard lady, in real life, she's a libtard lady. She's cool. She's cool. Even though women are powerful and strong, and they have the right to their own thoughts and beliefs, and girl boss, girl power. She didn't know what she was doing, because yes, women are strong and independent, but they are easily taken advantage of by men. Which is it?
Incidentally, this mother character is played by Tatiana Maslany, so she goes from girl boss and She-Hulk to victim of the patriarchy in this show. So while the evil villain white man, Noose Braca, played by Paul Giamatti, and oh my gosh, what a waste of Paul Giamatti, is sent to prison, Tatiana Maslany's victimized mother character is sent to a rehabilitation center because it really wasn't her fault. Now, of course, this means she is separated from her racially ambiguous son, and she is separated by our lead female heroine, played by Holly Hunter, which again is a massive misuse of the talent of Holly Hunter in this show. Holly Hunter, while a heroine, is also a female who's just a victim of the system. She had to separate this mother who was an accomplice to murder and this child because the system forced her hand. She wouldn't have done it if she really had a choice. She's torn up about it. She's thinking about all the things she could have done to not separate this mother and child. And this is a quote we get in the show.
It wouldn't have changed anything. We were in Tria. Starfleet wasn't making any exceptions.
Separating children from their parents isn't exceptional. It's reprehensible.
Separating children from their parents isn't exceptional. It's reprehensible. Where have I...
Yes, of course. We've heard this before, haven't we? Yes, because when people cross the border illegally, we cannot separate the parents from the children, even if the parents are horrific criminals. Yes, we also, according to the writers like Holly Hunter, we should not be arresting people who have children, regardless of the crime. They murdered someone, they have kids, you can't separate them, right? Wow.
I heard that before, complaining about the separation of children and their parents. Oh, that's right, the political left.
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who
we're
built the
talking about.
cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about.
Of course, I cannot help but see this as a parallel to the illegal immigration conversations we're having in this country. Person comes and commits crime with child alongside them. Person is separated from child, if even just to figure out if the child is theirs. And that's a no.
Can I just ask a question? I'm just very, very curious about this. If celebrities cared so much about people who come across the border illegally and come into our country illegally, why don't they put them in their shows? Why don't they put more of these people in their shows? You care about them so much, and yet you won't put them in your shows, have them writers in your shows, acting in your shows. Why not? It almost seems like it's all fake.
That's a no, it's not exceptional, it's reprehensible, even when your mother is an accomplice to murder. Okay. Now, with a little bit of retrospect, people in leadership are feeling really bad about separating this mother and child, and we get this quote.
I was dead wrong, Mel. Now, these kids are inheriting a broken world they did not create but have to clean up. There's no one more suited to help them. You're part Lanthamer.
Now, that quote becomes really important. It's an...
Oh my God, you've also heard this in libtard rhetoric as well. Yes, the olds before us created a shitstorm for us to pick up after and clean up after. But they're not referring to things like the economy. They're not referring to things that actually matter to people. They're referring to virtue signal topics. It's a shit show. This is just a shit show.
An ever-present theme in this entire show, apparently, that kids are taking on the burden of their ancestors, that their ancestors committed all these atrocities that left them in a burned up, torn up world. And now kids with their empathy and inclusivity have to patch up that broken world. It's why we get clips like these from one of the showrunners on this Star Trek show, Alex Kurtzman.
I think that every Trek show, no matter which one it is, it's always a mirror to the moment in which it's made. And right now you have a generation of kids who are facing an extremely divided world in a very, very uncertain future. And, you know, as the father of one of those kids, I see my son facing that reality, but I also see him facing it with a kind of youthful optimism and exuberance.
Well, yeah, because he's rich. Of course. Of course he would be optimistic. He's got money. He doesn't have to worry about things that normal people and normal kids who are poor have to deal with. Of course. Oh, but let's not hire the poor people, Hollywood. Let's hire the diverse array of kids who came from wealth, right?
That really comes from being young and the promise of what's possible. And so undeterred.
Nah, it doesn't come from being young. It comes from being born into wealth. Let me just give you a really fun fact, everybody, because I was looking this up the other day. I was wondering, why were movies way better back then? Why were actors way better back then than they are today? And it's because the more that years go by, the less people who came from struggling backgrounds are able to get into the arts. Because right here, what I saw when I asked this question was, I'll just read it. There's no clean universal saying of X percent of artists from poor or lower middle class families. But the best actual data we have shows that creative careers are heavily skewed toward people from wealthier or more privileged backgrounds, meaning working class and lower income origins are underrepresented. What happened to inclusion, everybody? Not overrepresented. A couple of academic analysis UK data found that among creative workers born mid-20th century, about 16% had working class backgrounds. But for cohorts born later, this dropped to around 8%, meaning over 90% came from middle class or better upbringings. Where's the diversity, Hollywood? It's not there. You're just picking and choosing between all these rich kids who look different and being like, this will make us look diverse. But see, you can't see the income inequality. You can't see if someone comes from a poor background and someone comes from a rich background, if they're both dressed the same, right? But you can see the color of people's skins or the shapes of their bodies, or if they're a flamboyant male or a butchy woman. You can see that. So in order to really get our points across, we're actually going to bullshit the audience into thinking that we're inclusive when really we don't want the pores.
Deterred, he will continue to look for what is best. And to me, that represents Roddenberry's vision. And it feels like if we're going to tell a story about young people, well, we could have said it in the 24th century in the halcyon days of the Federation. But it would have been a lovely fantasy, but it wouldn't have been, I think, the mirror.
Dude, you ever seen those glasses that I think Spencer's used to sell them? They used to sell like gag gifts and stuff like that. And they had these glasses where they had these like old man eyes, and you'd put them on and you'd look like you had old man eyes. I think you know what I'm talking about. Doesn't this look like those glasses right here? Doesn't it? Creepy.
That Star Trek is. By putting it in the 32nd century post-Burn, you're telling the story about a bunch of kids who are inheriting a lot of challenges that their ancestors, laid down, and now it's their job to fix it and clean it up and get as close as possible to Roddenberry's vision.
I find it interesting that he starts off by saying every single Star Trek piece is a mirror for its time. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. Of course, you can watch a certain iteration of Star Trek and recognize which time it's from little things that slip through or certain...
Right now we're in a polarizing time. We're in a time where there's a lot of debates going on. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of too much reality hitting you in the face. It's just very overwhelming for most people. We want to be entertained. We want to watch something that takes us out of the reality of the moment and puts us somewhere else so we don't have to think about it for an hour or two, or even a half an hour. But when you're constantly bombarding us with not only this preachy woke but also the reality, partially skewed reality of what's going on today, you're just bombarding us more with the same we see on the news and social media every day. That's not taking us out of anything and making us happy and giving us relief. That's making us more stressed out. And then on top of that, you're putting in these rich kids who all look different, and you're trying to virtue signal to us, which is exhausting on its own. But also you're fake virtue signaling because you're not actually putting your money where your mouth is. You're not actually caring about diverse people like the poors, who they actually need more help than any rich, fat, butch queer will ever need. You're not actually helping the people who actually need help. You're helping the people who look like they need help and putting them in your shows or putting them to write on your shows. You're fake virtue signaling. You're not even like really doing it. You're half-assing it. And that's just a perfect statement of a perfect representation of actually what's going on in Hollywood. It's all just fake. The virtue signaling is fake. The inclusion is fake. Their words are fake. Their talent is fake. It's all horse pucky.
Certain things that are happening in the background that are only present and in the time in which that media was created. But now he's going forward in the creation of Star Trek Starfleet Academy to literally stamp this entire show with 2026 and the political issues of this time and the diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations of this particular time. Earlier Star Trek projects, it seems, were more concerned with broader questions, universal themes, transcendent messages, things that could become classic, timeless. There's nothing classic or timeless about anything created in this new show. This show screams 2025, 2026, and the issues and political topics of that time. And you want to know why I know that this show screams those things? It's not only because the show is literally spoon-feeding you that reality, it's also because the actors and the showrunners can't help but talk about it. Here's Tig Notaro, who we saw earlier in her DEI Starfleet training.
Typical Star Trek world of the inclusivity and the it knows no bounds, and that's that's always progressive. It's always moving forward, and I can't think of an element.
This bitch has never watched Star Trek in her life, you can tell. What do I say that would make me sound cool? Inclusive, diverse, different. I've never watched the show. I'm a lesbian. Does that answer your question? Lesbian.
Of the entire show or series, it isn't that way.
We'll tackle the question as to whether or not Star Trek was always inclusive or what it even means to be inclusive in today's time versus back then. But let's get into the aspect of self-insert that is so clearly present in so much of this show's creation.
It means visually inclusive, not economically inclusive. That's what it means.
What you have is a bunch of left-leaning people infiltrating the showrunner space, the executive producer space of this show, and inserting themselves into the Star Trek world. It's exactly what we got with She-Hulk. It's exactly...
You want to know another reason you can tell that a lot of these showrunners have more money than they know what to do with? Because they must know deep down that these shows won't sell, and yet they put them out anyway, which means they're literally throwing money into the fire because they can, which is an incredible insult to the viewer. Because some people pay to see these movies, pay streaming services to see these shows, and they're paying for half attempts at everything, including the virtue signaling, the writing, the acting. It's all fake. I know Hollywood is fake, but at least some actors, some writers go all in order to make and create great art. But for the most part, it's just an outlet for rich snobs to virtue signal in a fake way to the normies who are paying to watch the products. I don't need to pay to get preached at by some dumbass never struggled a day in their life, I can watch CNN.
It's exactly what we got with Star Wars The Acolyte. You can point to other products for other markets, like the new Snow White movie or the new Lilo and Stitch, where you're just consistently getting self-insert leftist politics, girl bossery everywhere you look. We all feel it, we all see it, we all know it's coming at this point. Here's another clip of an actress in this show who gets to play another girl boss at Starfleet Academy who talks about the inclusivity of her character.
Through my character, I really feel so grateful for her because that's a way in which I feel that I belong to the Star Trek universe, which is part of like why it's such an amazing thing is that it offers that. And I think Paul was talking about before the open door, like this inclusivity and like that everyone is welcome and there's hope on offer for every kind of person or being.
No, not the Pauls though, not the Pauls. What are you willing to bet that this lady identifies as queer, non-binary, trans? I'm willing to bet.
Being in the universe itself.
If that's not enough, here's another clip out of the press junket for this new series.
I think we are...
Okay, what's with the touching? Didn't we do this hashtag Me Too thing like not too long ago? Oh, it's because he's gay, right? He could put his hands up her skirts if he wanted to, and that would be totally cool in Hollywood, right? Right? I know I'm right.
That we are redefining what it means to be a warrior. You know what I mean? Like a warrior doesn't always...
Why are they always redefining words? They redefine what lesbian is. They redefine what woman is. They redefine what strong is or warrior is. No one's buying into your dumb ass bullshit, dummies. You think because you grew up in wealth and everyone told you were right, that normal people listen to you and think you're right. They can't stand listening to these people. We're redefining what warrior means. Well, if we were to actually redefine it, warrior would mean some scared ass little pussy hiding in a corner. That's what that would mean. Redefining words doesn't mean that those words automatically mean something else because the woke mob decided to redefine it. Most people know what a warrior is. Braveheart. Right? Mel Gibson in Braveheart. William Wallace. Straight down. Well to the side like, it's raining. That guy was a warrior. This queen, whatever he is, this guy right here, no warrior. He couldn't define what a warrior is if it slapped him in the face with their dick. And trying to redefine it and making everyone who watches this show believe that warrior is some scared coward in the corner. That's not going to work. Redefining what warrior is means cowering and playing the victim. No. People know what a warrior is. And if that's what the new definition of warrior is going to be, ain't nobody going to be a warrior. And they're not going to want to be one. Everyone on the woke side is a warrior. And nobody who actually, is strong and wants to be protective and actually is a warrior wouldn't actually want to ever be a warrior. So they're trying to like change the language in order to be inclusive while simultaneously not being inclusive. It's so cringy. I know a lot of people feel me on this because you're like, you people don't live in the real world. You live in a upper middle class to extremely wealthy world that doesn't deal with normal things that people go through in society. And you are trying to tell us what we should think. We're redefining it for you stupid plebs, you stupid normies. We're defining it because we are visually inclusive, you see all the different colors of people and the different sizes and queerness. We're going to define it for you stupid normie people. Listen to us because we know better, because we grew up in wealth, not in the regular world. It's so narcissistic and vain, and it makes sense that they don't see how dumb they sound because no one has ever told them they're dumb. They've never experienced repercussions, consequence. They've never had to take accountability. It's all this vanity. It's just super vanity. It's uber vanity. It's an explosive vanity that just oozes out of the pores of these preachy, woke dumbasses. It's so cringy. It makes you mad and want to vomit at the same time.
Is me picking up, a weapon and going into battle There's like a lot of other battlefields. And so
Love is a battlefield. What other battlefields are there? The ones that he'd never be on, including the fake ones that he's going to make up. Hey, I got my sword, everybody. Hey. Okay, I'm going to dictate. You do my laundry. You cook me some food for dinner. You're going to make me a salad. You are going to train me, okay? I got to work on my muscles. Hey, honey, no, absolutely not. I wouldn't take warrior advice from this guy. I wouldn't take life advice from any of these people.
think that's what we're doing in Starfleet Academy with Klingons.
Are we not over this at this point? Are we not over leftists picking up these beloved pieces of IP, these beloved franchises, which at their core are incongruent with leftist ideology, and then they're putting them on as a skin suit? So
you know what it is? Why it's so gross to me? Because this reminds me of watching The 700 Club. This reminds me of watching a Christian Hallmark movie where they always insert God into it, or listening to a Christian song where they got to put Jesus in there somewhere, or Praise You in a Storm, or, I mean, I know that song was okay, but like just inserting, like you could have a faith-based song without having to throw in those specific words all the time. And the left does the same thing. It's so cringy. It's like, oh God, why couldn't you just be original? Why do you just got to do what everyone else is doing and throw in these hallelujah and Jesus and raise me up and I put my hands to the sky and the Lamb of God is like, oh, come on. No, gross. I want to be taken out of it, out of life, out of the moment we're living in right now, and into some fantasy land where I don't have to think about this. And no, I can't have it my way, the paying customer. No, I have to listen to your dumb shit all the time. It's annoying. Nobody likes this. Not even the woke people. They don't even like it. They want you to like it while they don't like it. They wouldn't even watch their own slop.
That they can shove their agenda in and sell it to you as Star Trek or Star Wars or as a Disney classic. They are making all these stories into shells of what they once were and then blaming you and calling you a bigot, a racist, a misogynist.
Why do you think that all of these woke people don't create original stuff, but take from things that were already created that people like? Why do you think they do that? Because they have no original thought in their freaking head. See, this is why the story of normal people who have gone through stuff is actually more compelling than whatever the crap this is. It's because people can relate. People can't relate to woke stuff. It just doesn't work. Normies, we hate that stuff. If we're going to be forced to deal with the reality of the situation, we want to see the reality, not whatever fake reality some rich kid came up with. Or we want to be taken out of it completely. But we want it to be original. When you're taking stuff people liked in the past because it came from an original person and you crap on it, that's insulting art in itself, as well as the original creators. When you were born into wealth and you've never had to struggle or be around people who are struggling, aside from when you felt pity on them, you have no idea not only how to relate to an audience, but how to create anything that's compelling for an audience, because you've never met the audience. You've met people who pretend to be the audience, but really they're just like you. So you're not going to create anything that's original, because why have an original thought when you could just steal from other people? But you're going to create garbage that you copied. You're not even going to make like a replica of something that's even better. It's going to be something that's even worse, because not only are you doing that, but you're also preaching in it as well. So I can't possibly be a normal person who would enjoy anything that woke people or Hollywood creates anymore. It's very rare that you find something that's actually really good. Some rich woke people might be able to come up with some original ideas, but the vast majority steal from original content and create it into some preachy crap that nobody cares about. It's very annoying. When you haven't gone through stuff, lived a normal life for any of this stuff, and you've been handed everything, how could you possibly, majority of the time, for most rich people, how could you possibly be creative? Hardships, and struggles, and facing real life dilemmas, that's what has created art for a majority of the time. because it not only gives people backbones, but it also gives them influence, or it's a muse for them. That's why you see them taking from real life people's stories who have gone through stuff, and they'll make a movie on it because that's interesting for people. They went through something really hard. Let's see what happens. That's interesting. But it also, if you went through something that was absolutely treacherous and you wrote a song because of what you went through, that speaks to people. And people can tell when it's fake or when it came from something real. Struggle it's an influence on art. Without struggle, you have replicas copying and preaching the same damn point over and over again until people are completely exhausted. And that's where we're at.
For not liking it and not wanting to consume it. And when I say a shell of what they once were, I truly mean it. I'm going to show you some old clips from Star Trek so you can feel the difference in what you've seen today and what it once was.
Welcomed Ensign Mendon on board. Certainly seems eager to please.
Oh, that's a Benzite trait.
What if Riker had said, I noticed Geordi is pretty good at basketball, and Picard was like, well, that's an African trait.
No, she's interesting. I don't think she's the right pronoun. But if you think it's worth the risk...
I don't know, maybe I should have brought my scanner with me.
Did you know the Nigerians govern a sector of space occupied by several different humanoid species?
If we say yes, will you feed us?
One of those species is the Benkarans. They occupy just 10% of Nigerian space, but take up nearly 80% of the space in Nigerian prisons.
Maybe they commit more crimes.
Like, Star Trek once gave you the 1350, the 1350 stat, and you think that Star Trek Starfleet is actually something that's paying homage to it? Guys, how long does this continue? This whole mirroring the time thing? We've been asking this for years at this point. I can't even tell you how many videos we've made tackling this subject matter, where we're looking at a story like Snow White or Lilo and Stitch or Rings of Power or Star Wars or Star Trek, and we can literally take all of these different names and these different storylines that were once unique and had their own essence, and we can shove the same story into each of them and repackage them to you with the given name for the franchise that you love so that you can eat the slop. When he says this is a mirror for our time, he couldn't be more truthful in that statement. And I think we're done with the mirror, because right now our time is full of peak girl bossification of characters and a lack of true femininity. It's diversity, equity, inclusion to the detriment of storyline and storytelling where everything's included so nothing works. It is just baseless political arguments and slogans thrown into places where they don't fit just for the sake of telling you how to feel. That is today's...
Yeah, girl bossification doesn't work because it's fake and it's not real. If you're going to do the girl boss thing, at least make it so it seems more real to people. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're doing the girl boss thing, then you are somewhat trying to base it in reality, even if it is in a fantasy world. And then unless she's like a superhero with superpowers, girl bossification isn't going to work. Like in The Last of Us, when Bella Ramsey was fighting one dude who was like 6'3" with big muscles, and she was able to disarm him and beat him up. I was like, you're trying to make me believe that even though we're like in a fantasy world, that we are adhering to some realistic things, but you want me to believe that this little girl could beat up this 6'3" muscular dude. Okay, I know what you're doing. You're just doing the girl boss thing, and it's very, very annoying. If she was to get the crap beat out of her, but she was to do something else that was more realistic in order to get the upper hand on him, I don't know, like stab him in the eyes, eradicate his sight, maybe I would believe that more. But the girl bossification and just making it so unrealistic, even if it's in a fake world, it comes across as preachy, and it doesn't come across as compelling, interesting. I don't like it. It's like that movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. It came across like it was going with the realistic edge, and then it just fell off a cliff. We all know that men are stronger than women, and if she's going to be a girl boss, then she's got to use her brains and be smarter. But she can't be the smartest one in the room as well. She can't be like a flawless individual, because then there's no intrigue. I'm not intrigued by someone who is perfect in every way. Even if she is an ugly girl boss, if she has no flaws, it doesn't make her interesting. It makes her boring. And that's what they're trying to do, is make these girl bosses perfect in every way, the smartest ones in the room, the strongest ones, the ones who can get out of any danger. It's boring. You know, I used to watch Elementary with Lucy Liu and Johnny, whatever the hell his last name is, I can't remember right now. And he was the smartest one in the room always. And still he got himself into sticky situations, because when it comes down to it, if a perfect, smart character doesn't have any flaws, they're boring to watch and nobody will want to watch them. Because what's the point? There's no struggle. There's no conflict. It's crap. That's what they're doing. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you watch this show? Did you watch the free episode that they threw out there because they knew no one would pay to watch this garbage? Let me know in the comments below. Join our memberships to keep this channel going and afloat, because you know the YouTube gods hate us. And we will see you in the next one. Bye. Crawling, hard in love, I'm falling, sneaking, stalking, follow you.